With a huge Central American caravan parading across Mexico to come to our border, and a president's tweet storm about DACA over the weekend, immigration is once again the forefront of the news. Now, I don't know enough about the caravan yet to comment on it. I've heard some things, but I haven't done any reading on it. But I know a fair bit about DACA, and I've got some opinions on that, and I'm even coming forward to partially retract something that I said earlier about it. One of the things about DACA that surprises me the most is the fact that so many people are so mad about the fact that our president has chosen to rescind the program after he told the Congress 6 months ago that they had 6 months to come up with a legislative solution for the program. Guess what? It's been 6 months now. After no such legislation was made, our president is using his executive fiat in order to rescind the executive order of a previous president and end the program. And I honestly think that it's okay. About 7 months ago, when this was first a controversy, while I was still writing in my blog, I came up with an article and I had a proposed solution as to what to do with the DACA kids. The article that I wrote was quite lengthy, so I've linked it down in the description below so you can go over the fine points of it. I don't want to quote it verbatim right now, but I'll go over the nitty-gritty points of it. When I wrote the article, I believed that DACA was going to end within the month. So I proposed a quick, wide-sweeping solution that will allow us to get the decisions made, get it done, and get people on with their lives. My first proposal was that everybody in the DACA program, as well as all other illegals in the country, had to go. Now, I gave the option for all of them to come forward and say, hey, you know what, I was in DACA, or I came over here illegally, and I'm sorry, and I'm ready to go home. At that point, I thought that we should divide all of them up into 3 groups. The first group, obviously, was anybody who committed a crime on our soil. And I understand that getting a speeding ticket or writing a bad check, those are 2 things that are considered a crime, but they're little slap on the wrist crimes. So I thought to myself that we could overlook some of those, but anybody with a major misdemeanor or a felony just needs to go. They need to come forward and say that they did it, go back over the border to Mexico or the country that they came from initially, and they don't get to come back. I'm sorry. The president gets to decide who comes into his country and who doesn't. It's a fact of life. I'd like to note that when I wrote my article and made my proposal, I included illegal immigrants along with DACA recipients, and that's important because the next group of people that I wanted to touch on were the people who were here and didn't necessarily do anything wrong other than immigration violation. Now, yes, immigration violation is a crime, and they should be punished for which, but as long as they came forward and said, yeah, you know, I'm here, it was illegal, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to my country. I'd like to let them back in with no prejudice whatsoever. One of the things about DACA that I liked that not a lot of other people liked was that it gave illegal immigrants, especially the ones that came over as children, a chance to contribute to our GDP because this was their home. They had been here since children and they didn't know any other home. So of course, they do want to see it succeed. Now, just for immigration purposes, yes, I'd like them to go back and start the process from the other side of the border, but I would like them to have the opportunity to come back immediately. I would just like it to be an inconvenience, not a death sentence for them. Many of the dreamers, as they're alternately called, have families, have had jobs, many of them served in the military, some of them went to school. So it's just natural, like I said, that they should be admitted into this country. They know this country. Many of them know the immigration laws already. It's really important to remember that DACA allowed kids who otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to go out and get a job and contribute to our GDP. Now, I know a lot of people are mad because that's a job that would have been otherwise taken by an American citizen, but I don't think that matters because all of these kids just wanted to raise their communities. As I mentioned before, I don't necessarily want them to get discouraged. I want them to be inconvenienced as a punishment for the fact that they didn't go and apply for citizenship or make any other effort to come into this country and be a legal citizen rather than a DACA recipient. But I'd even be willing in some cases for some of the more productive members of the program to be moved right to the front of the line on the immigration status so they can get fast-tracked back in and get back to work. Maybe lose a week or two on vacation, and that's about it. I know that's a pipe dream for the way that our bureaucracy works, but it would be nice to reward the ones that did want to contribute to our country and make our country their home. The last group that I came up with were the people that were in DACA and committed no crime other than immigration status, but decided to resist the change that was coming. The ones that ICE agents had to go run and hide. And in this group, I do want to differentiate between illegal immigrants and DACA recipients. For illegal immigrants, I do think that if ICE comes and finds them, they do have to go. I want to reward the ones that came forward and said, yes, I did this and it was wrong. That's why I wanted to move them into the other group. But I may even consider moving them into this group. But the dreamers in the DACA program that resist the change and just want to stay and forget about everything else do need a slight punishment. And if ICE does have to come and find you, I think that you should be deported, and your ability to immigrate legally should be suspended for 3 years. Yes, I understand that you contributed to our society for so long, but the fact of the matter is that we had to expend resources to come and get you into compliance. So the 3 years thing is kind of a trade-off for that. Illegal immigrants that came forward and were not in the DACA program, I think could be grouped into this rather than just getting fast-tracked to the front, really based on the fact that, again, they've committed no other crime, but they came forward. However, they did not use the tools that were available to them at the time to get their legal status and pay into the federal income tax. So maybe 3 years or 2 years or maybe 1 year would be an appropriate wait time for them to come in and try again. But as long as they've committed no crime, I do want to encourage them to try again. Now, at the time that I wrote that, I think that might have been brash and bold, especially with the 6 months extension that was coming along. What we could have done in those 6 months is get the DACA recipients in front of some federal judges, give them some legal representation, get their parents some legal representation, see what they were doing, what their parents were doing, if they needed help, if they needed assistance, if they were going to school, or if they were serving in the military, or any other way that they were contributing to our society, and take each one of them on a case-by-case basis individually, deport the ones that weren't really contributing to society, and reward the ones that were. Sometimes I think that our entire illegal immigration process should be like that. But now with the fact that our president has officially said that the DACA program is over, we may need to go back to this wide-sweeping proposal like the one that I came up with. There have been a couple of frustrations that I've had ever since I learned what the DACA program was. And as close as I paid attention to politics before President Trump was in, I'm really surprised that I didn't know what it was until people started talking about it on the news after our president got elected. I really went down the rabbit hole when I started learning about DACA too. I started to learn a lot of things about it, what it was and why it was. And I was even able to theorize a few of the other ideas as to why it happened the way it did. I know that when Obama was in office that he was talking about executive amnesty, and so were many of his critics. So I was surprised to learn that there was a program that wasn't executive amnesty, but allowed all of these children to stay into the country as they were. Honestly, ever since I learned what it was, I was really bothered by the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, simply because all that it did was put a bunch of kids and young adults into immigration limbo, essentially. They're neither legal nor illegal at the time that they're in the DACA program, and all they're being used as right now is a political club to beat on Republicans with. I don't think I have to say it, but it will be said anyway. There really is no incentive for Democrats in Congress to come up with a solution for DACA right now where the president's signature will be on it, given their hatred of our current president. But I do really think that it is time for this program to end so that these kids can move on with their lives and figure out where it is that they're going to spend the rest of them. What I'm about to say is not going to land me a lot of friends in Republican circles, but it's okay because I seriously feel like it's the truth. Whether we give them amnesty or we deport them all, it's time to end DACA. because nobody can live out their lives wondering what's going to happen to them the next day. Whether your focus is on the DACA recipients or the organizations in the United States that associate with them, it's time to make a decision so that the schools, the government, the military, the jobs, and the kids can all make decisions and plan for their futures without wondering if they're just going to disappear the next day. Do you support deportations or amnesty? Or can you propose another solution entirely that's fair to everybody and keeps our economy going? I always welcome good, positive discussion in the comment section below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at EdsBlogTwitter with a 1 in place of the I. Remember, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Take care, everyone.
You're always there.